remember this board she's standing on right over here. When we get back on this side again, I'll tell you about what was underneath her.
On this episode of LKT'S Place, we're going to be visiting Blowing Cave Mill, located in Sevierville, Tennessee, just 30 minutes away from Pigeon Forge. And it's a great place to visit if you're in town. And I'm just going to let Gary Baker tell you about his mill.
Which is the name of the mill, grist mill here. It's been here since 1785.
1785.
And it was three guys came out of Pennsylvania, and it was actually illegal to be in this part of the country at that time, because even though you're going to have to excuse me because I'm getting ready to sneeze. That happens soon. I always get about a 10-minute warning before I sneeze. And anyway, spooling it. Anyway, these three, the United States won its independence from Britain in 1776, but had nowhere near the manpower to patrol anything west of the Alleghenies. So the British still had control of this. That's why it's called English Mountain this. And a lot of English names attached to things. And the British actually didn't have the manpower to patrol it either. So what they did was they hired the Indians to kill settlers when they come in here, and then they would scalp you. Mark Fox is the first person buried down the road at the New Dutch Cemetery. They call it Fox Cemetery now. He was killed and scalped by the Indians. That's how the Indians got paid by the British, was by delivering the scalps to them. And these three guys out of Pennsylvania, they were able to hold on, and they built the cemetery. And then this side of the cemetery, they built a Lutheran church, and then this side of the church, they built a fort. And the fort was the defensive mechanism for settlers to come and have the security of the fort at night especially, and then go out during the day and try to establish their homesteads. And the cemetery's still there. It's got markers up, and you can read about the different things down there. But anyway, the mill grew as the need for more corn grew. The reason being, the other side of the mountain over there is called Cosby, Tennessee. You might want to Google it and read about it. Cosby, Tennessee is the moonshine capital of the world. Two great things about that area: a lot of great water, and it's easy to hide there. I was telling them earlier, at the end of this fence out here, there's a hole in the side of the mountain, and when you go in there, the moonshiners have been in there. There's a lot of steel parts and things like that in there still today. So as the need for more corn grew, this mill grew from a tub mill to a grist mill. We'll go on down and get started going through the mill portion of it. Watch your step going through. Old mills are very unforgiving. The minute you go walk through that door, you're basically stepping back into 1785. The old tub mill being on the other side. The all the wood gears were replaced in 1880 after the second fire in here. If you look up right here, you'll see the white. That's the bottom of the grist mill stones, the stones for the wheat. And over here, opposite, is the grist stones for the corn. Now we quit doing the wheat because the wheat's so volatile, and we just do the corn now. But I grind 40,300 pounds every 6 or 7 days for Ole Smoky Moonshine Distillery in Gatlinburg.
What's the hornet's nest?
Those are nature's pesticides here in the mountains. When you have those on your porch, the flies, mosquitoes, and the gnats won't come around because they don't know if the hornets are at home or not. And so they don't come around.
Cool.
Yeah. That's the reason you'll see them laying around. They're over here in the floor. There's just a lot of different ones I've got, just different places because they do ward off the bugs. Let's go upstairs. Any questions, just fire them at me and I'll be happy to answer them. You're looking down now, right there, where you were looking up just a few minutes ago. And of course, that's the stones. This was the white stone you looked at, and the grist stone. The stones weigh about 2,600 pounds each. And this old mill runs on a series of leather belts and cups, just like you see on the wall right here. These leather belts run in all of these elevators right here. You'll see them hanging down right here. What that is when the corn comes in this door, it goes to the 4th floor. And up on the 4th floor, there's a huge blower up there. And that blower cleans the corn. It takes off any husks or any sticks or any cobs or anything that might be with the corn. That way, when the corn's clean, it comes back down to this floor on this belt here, and it spills into the hoppers. And this is where it's ground. Once it's ground, it goes back upstairs to the 3rd floor this time, and there's a sifter up there you'll see. And the sifter separates the flour and the cornmeal and the grits and the duck food. Once it's separated, it comes back down right here. And this is where it's bagged and goes back out the door. Now, this is was an old public building, like years ago, and as was a lot of areas, this was the post office here. And it was really the only public building in the area at the time. And this is the how you got paid when you brought your corn in. This is the chart. You paid the miller his tare, and he would like to have all your corn if you would sell it to him, because he was able to sell it to the moonshine industry over here across the hill. Yeah, there was a big demand for it. But think about it. In the early days of the country, I don't guess we sometimes think about the fact that these folks years ago, they probably enjoyed drinking as much as people do today. And there wasn't very many bars back then or places to get alcohol, so the moonshiners were about the only place you could turn to for your need for alcohol. Now, we decided to put electricity in the building a few years ago. This mill has operated forever without it. You don't need electricity. Everything runs by water. But when we decided to put electric in, we had to get an electrical permit. And when they came out and spotted the electrical panel, they put it right here. And when I started tearing this out to put the box in, I encountered newspaper on the wall. They were using it for an air brake. And when I started taking the newspaper off, when I got the last one off, I discovered bookcases, just like the one up at the top of the steps up there, or like this one over the door right here. And in those bookcases, were all of these log books. These ledger books go back to 1785. And I don't know what year I grabbed here. What year does that say?
1872.
Look at the handwriting. Is that not great? I don't even think they teach that in school anymore. But anyway, this was an everyday history of what had gone on at this mill. And in addition to these log books, there was 30 little trade catalogs. And remember, I told you had store credit there. You could order your cook stove if you wanted a stove. Just, or if you needed a farm wagon.
I was gonna say they had to deliver those stoves by wagon, didn't they?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. Now there's one of these wagons out on the front porch right now. I'm not going to show you all 30 catalogs, but that was like a gold mine to me, minding all of this stuff in the walls right here.
Yeah, but it's, that you actually have it, I mean, you know, it's.
Yeah. Well, let's go upstairs. About twice a year, I have to sharpen the stones. And the stones I use, let me just step right over here.
Okay.
This is how I sharpen the stones. This is over the top of the stones right here. Those arms you see on that screw over there, that's out of all wood. That's the one from 1785. When you pick these up, you screw this and lift these rock up, then they'll pivot, and then I can sharpen the stones. You don't actually grind stone to stone to grind corn. There's about a 32nd of an inch gap that I can adjust it to, and it cuts the corn and exposes all of the starch that's collected that goes
So to
upstairs.
pick it up, do you put a strap around it, or?
No, those bales right over there on the wall, those curved arms on the bottom of that,
Oh, I see it.
there's holes.
There's holes in the bottom.
Yeah, and if you look on the side of the rocks right here,
I see there's a hole right
you'll
there.
see holes to where the arms will fit in to the arms, and that way you can elevate and sharpen. And you know, the ingenuity of those people amazed me with all of the belt system that runs through here, and the detail they took with even their woodwork, with the little lamb's tongue architecture they've got on all of these things. They took a lot of pride in their equipment. Let's go on upstairs. Now, this is the sifter, the big gray box here. That's the sifter. Of course, it's all run by the wheel. That's what turns the sifter. You can see how these turn. And again, the ingenuity of the mountain people to have these synchronized like they do, it's just amazing. Now, I want you to remember this board she's standing on right over here. When we get back on this side again, I'll tell you about what was underneath it. Of course, it's all about the corn. Europeans didn't
How
have
noisy is it in here when it's operating?
uh,
How noisy is it when it's
not
operating?
very right here. Downstairs more so because of the metal gears. The wood's really quiet. You can hear how the noise that makes right there. The belts clanging with the little buckets on them makes some noise, but it gets muted when the buckets are full of grain or full of meal or whatever. Now, the Europeans didn't have corn. Corn came from the Mayans and the Aztecs, spread through the Spaniards into Mexico. Southwest Indians had them. Like I was talking about earlier, the British paid the Indians to patrol this area. And so all of these artifacts you see are from here. They were found here on site. Now, the Indians did stone grind corn. You can see how it's pitted out the stone right there. Mm-hmm. Here we have just a typical mountain kitchen. Just things that have come from this area. And you can get an idea about a little bit of how life was here in the early days. Now, my fourth great grandfather was from Scotland, and he wanted to come to the New World, and he tried to come through England, and they wouldn't let him bring a still on the boat. So he had to wait a year, and he came through France. He cut the still up into make it look like luggage, and was able to get the still to the new country. And here it is.
And that's been in your family for how long?
Fourth great grandfather. Yeah. You can see how he put it back together. Someone said, well, he's put it back with lead. They said, lead's poison. I said, well, it's no worse than what he was cooking.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just lucky to have something that old from my family. Now, behind you on the wall, it's just the typical tools here in the mountains. And these are little sharpening axes right here that I use to sharpen the stones downstairs. And everything else is just pretty much the same throughout the country. Everyone had primitive tools like these. These are the tools that pretty much shaped this country. Let's look over on the other side. Now I ask you to remember that board over there in the floor. Let's remember this little blue keg as well, okay? Come on. Two things to remember, that's not too much. Now the Indians were everywhere, and you can't go out here and dig a shovel of dirt that you don't find artifacts from the Indians. These are things that we've pulled up out of the yard here, not the necklaces. The girl said it needed some color and put those in there. Doesn't have anything to do with what we found out there. But the Indian artifacts are everywhere out there. Now, that board I asked you to remember to step on a while ago. 9 years ago, I had water damage outside the mill, and we were out there repairing it. And I told Freddie, I said, I'm going to go in and pull up a couple of boards, check my floors. When I pulled those boards up, I thought I had found a rat's nest, but it was a packet of letters. Had a lady's ribbon tied around it. And when I looked further, I found as big as my fist a wad of cash. Then I found gold coins, and I found old coins. I found Confederate postage stamps, and I found 4 little pictures on glass. They call them daguerreotypes. They're just about this big. They've been trying to get me to put them in the museum down in Nashville. Said more people would see them. They've got a lot of guns and bayonets and uniforms, very few personal items like was found in the floor. What we figured happened with the guy was he didn't want the Union Army to know his identity, so he's hidden them in the floor. Apparently they found out anyway because he didn't come back and get them. I've hesitated to send it off to another museum because I want you folks to be able to see it. Right here it is. I've flattened the money out, and that's he with his sword right there.
You tempted to do any digging anywhere else around here? Like pulling boards up?
Well, as a result of that, if you look right there at your foot, you see that little patch on the floor there. If you look right over here, you'll see these patches. If you look through the mill, you can see where I've kind of cut the floor and run a probe in there.
Still a little exploring.
I'm not getting greedy, but yeah, I've been wondering about it. I sure have. Now, I took 3 of the gold coins and moved them downstairs because there was a guy came through and said that they're quite valuable, and so we went ahead and put them in a more secure location, but I did leave the one right there. Now, funny thing happened in 1912. There was a group called Pi Beta Phi. They came to Gatlinburg and established a clinic and a school and a store called the Aramont Store. And they started teaching cottage industries to the mountain people. And the Aramont Store is still in existence today. They've got a good idea of what Gatlinburg was like. If you ever get a chance to go in it, it's across the street from the aquarium in Gatlinburg. And they taught my grandmother how to weave. This is her little loom. It's a hand-built loom that my grandfather made for her. And they would make these little rugs and little purses like these, and they would sell them at the Aramont Store, and the mountain folks finally had a source of cash. The men in my family would carve out these little animals like this. This is just one of the little dogs right here. And they would sell these as well at the Aramont Store. There were no toys in the mountains. These were my grandmother's trunk when she passed away. These were from 1890. These are little corn shuck dolls. Mm-hmm. And just like having that still over there, I'm just lucky to have hold of some of the things from my folks. Now, there was no radio, TV, or anything like that for a long time here in the mountains because your cell phones probably don't work real well here. And the mountain folks, for social life, they had church and they had corn huskings and just different kind of social events. And but the mountain people, I guess as a result of not having radio, TV, things like that, they a lot of them were great musicians. And if we go fast forward to the Depression era years, here in the mountains, we'd been in the Depression for 200 or 300 years. We didn't choose to participate in the Depression, but it's one of the things that, as a result that happened, they moved the National Fiddlers Convention from the Midwest over to Knoxville in 1929, roughly. And one of the guys that had the Federal Land Bank here came and got my grandfather and took he to Knoxville and entered him in the contest down there. And on the last day of the competition, there were only 2 people left. The guy that had won it for 7 straight years and my grandfather. And the champ, you've heard you don't play second fiddle to somebody, the champ got to go out and play first. And they said he just brought the house down, said it was unbelievable. And they told my grandfather, said, now you don't have to go out. Said, you hear what's going on out there? He's won it 7 straight years. And my grandfather said, no, they've brought me all the way from Gatlinburg, I'm going to play. So they introduced him and he walked out on stage. He'd never seen that many people congregated in one area. And he froze. He just stood there and looked at them, held his fiddle and his bow, and just looked at the crowd. And they started whispering his name for him to come back, come back. And finally, he looked at his fiddle, and he looked at his bow, and he put them behind his back and played the same tune and won the Fiddlers Convention that year. That's what's going on the wall right here. I'm having the picture. He was in the newspaper the next morning. He and the McCall boys carrying the prizes out of the market house. There was no money because of the Depression, but they had local merchants had given hats and coats and shoes and things of that nature. Just something else I'm lucky to have. Let's see, he's back downstairs. "16 years ago, the state of Tennessee did something unusual. They approved a micro distillery law, allowing for micro distilleries. And we'd been in the corn business for a long time, and we had found out that they were going to approve this law, and we were able 16 years ago, my boy and some of his partners started Ole Smoky Moonshine distilleries over in Gatlinburg, and we still furnish the corn for them today. We grind 40,300 pounds about every 6, 7 days over there. I'm sorry. But, do you have any questions at all?
I just find it fascinating.
I'll be happy to answer anything that you might ask.
And you said you grown up here since you was a kid?
Yes.
And
Family's been
and the mill was closed for a time, right?
It was never really closed, it just was not in full operation
Okay.
for a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you just did the
Before the moonshine laws
Yeah.
changed 16 years ago,
uh
you know, the moonshiners didn't have the demand for their product after there started being package stores on every corner and alcohol was available to just about anybody, everybody. So the mill really went back into production 16 years ago, full speed. This is fully operational, we're just not running it today.
Do you run it some days?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Do you give tours while you're running it?
Do I have what?
Do you give tours while you're running it?
Yes, just like
Okay.
this one. Sure do.
The belts, they're not continuous, do they come down and then go back up?
They're
Just
not
keep-
a one continuous belt, they're a series of continuous belts, though, and yes, they do, they hook.
So that, is that just there for show? or-
Right now, I've
For
got
show?
it for show.
Okay.
When I start grinding, we have a lacing machine, and we just lace them back together, and then
Okay.
they'll do their thing. No, they're still fully operational. It's amazing the ingenuity of like we were talking about earlier.
Do you sell the corn? Do you sell what you grind here?
We do. Now, this week, we don't have any corn available. I'm waiting until the second freeze. And the reason for that is it gets real cold in this building and it's easier to preserve and hold that corn. And so we're about 2 weeks away from starting to sell a cornmeal again. And grits and some pancake flour. Well, let's go back downstairs. Got any other questions? I'll be happy to answer them.
Did you tell us about the other side of that blue barrel? I didn't hear you. if you
Oh, we
did.
did talk about that blue barrel. And that was all of that shot was laying in the bottom of that case we looked at earlier.
Okay.
And when we were building the barn out there, I dug that little keg up and it had all that shot in it. And that's the shot that goes in the cavalry cannon.
Gotcha.
Huh. I wanted you to look back, all the way back to the other screen door back there. And you'll see that's one of 6 40-gallon stills my family operated in these machines.